Brexit and Corona are putting the relationship between England, Scotland, Wales and Northern Ireland to the test. The Prime Minister turns out to be the greatest threat to the unity of the kingdom. Things are not going well between England and the other three parts of the UK. We have to worry about the unity of the country, warned former Prime Minister Gordon Brown recently. If you believe him and leading politicians in Scotland, Wales and Northern Ireland, however, it's not Brexit and Corona that are the greatest threats to the unity of the Union, but rather his successor, Prime Minister Boris Johnson. His England first policy, more than anything else, gives impetus to those who are striving to break away from London, so the assessment. Most recently, Johnson's tone was very wrong when he spoke about devolution, the British system of decentralisation that regulates the interaction between the four parts of the country. At the end of the 1990s, Scotland, Wales and Northern Ireland founded their own parliaments for this purpose. The process was initiated by the then Labour Prime Minister Tony Blair. The transfer of power was Blair's biggest mistake, Johnson said on video in front of around 60 Tory MPs. He called the four-country consensus a disaster north of the border. Johnson's statement was, unsurprisingly, not well received north of the aforementioned border. And at this point, as a German, I really have to say, our kind of devolution with 16 different regional parliaments is the basis of our democracy. And as a citizen, I can vote on many different levels, more levels than there would have been with just a centralized government. And we have more check and balance between the national parliament and the regional parliaments and the government. And that is more democracy. And so from my point of view, as I always said, I make this from a German point of view, and we really had to learn that more than 70 years ago. Democracy is what keeps peace, and to be against more democracy in kind of the devolution, I really don't understand him, I must say. And I'm not alone, I guess, because Scotland's First Minister Nicola Sturgeon of the Scottish National Party, the SNP, immediately tweeted that the Tories had gambled away their credibility in terms of power sharing. The only way to protect Parliament in Edinburgh is independence. In Wales, the Labour government there commented that Johnson's statement showed once again that London was not remotely interested in respecting the distribution of power within the kingdom. The Prime Minister's comments are shocking, but sadly not surprising, said the Welsh Advocate General. But even without Johnson's disaster statements, the cohesion of the kingdom is not in good shape. For years, Brexit has given impetus to those forces who are demanding separation from the kingdom in order not to have to leave the EU. A majority of Scots and Northern Irish voted against the exit in 2016, and support in Wales was also lower than in England. Scotland's highest minister, Sturgeon, is calling for a Scottish independence referendum, among other things, which London has so far denied her out of well-founded fear. In Northern Ireland, which is most directly affected by Brexit due to its land border with the EU Republic of Ireland, the Republican Sinn Féin calls for the separation from Great Britain and the orientation towards Ireland, and thus towards the European. With his highly controversial internal market law, Johnson wants to smooth things over on the Northern Ireland question and, among other things, enable higher subsidies for companies there. In the other parts of the kingdom, however, he achieved exactly the opposite of pacification. The Welsh government condemned the post-Brexit UK internal market plan as an attack on democracy and an affront to the people of Wales, Scotland and Ireland. The law stipulates that while the parts of the country can regulate their own markets, they must at the same time accept goods and services from the rest of the UK. Because of its size and market power alone, England would de facto determine the rules for the common market. Rules and money that once came from Brussels would thus be given from London. Scotland's First Minister Sturgeon announced that she would literally fight against it with teeth and fingernails. Alongside all of this, British cohesion is suffering from Johnson's Corona management. Blatant miscommunication has emerged in recent months where the various governments should actually act in a coordinated and cooperative manner. The top ministers of Wales and Scotland attacked Johnson, among other things, for not having agreed with them about a new nationwide lockdown. Scotland's First Minister Sturgeon had previously criticised Johnson's course against the virus as inadequate and at times enforced stricter rules in Scotland. Elections will be held in Scotland next year. And Nicola Sturgeon's SNP, which is calling for a separation from the kingdom, now has an approval rate of 58%, which will give weight to the call for a new independence referendum. Johnson doesn't make it easy for his own Tories to win votes in Edinburgh. In Wales, should the question of the union become more important to the electorate, a political migration can be expected, from the ruling Labour Party to the Tories on the one hand, who in principle advocate close integration into the kingdom, and to the Welsh National Party Plaid Cymru on the other. Their boss Adam Price recently announced that Wales' biggest mistake was that it had not already left the union. The Labour Party, which has traditionally ruled Cardiff and promoted the transfer of power with devolution 20 years ago, will probably increasingly come away empty-handed. Northern Ireland will celebrate its centenary next year after the island was partitioned in the Irish War of Independence. While the Republicans of Sinn Féin see no cause for celebration in this anyway, the ruling Unionists have little reason to celebrate either, because the still unresolved sandwich position between the kingdom and the EU as a result of Brexit could increasingly alienate the region from the kingdom, first economically and then politically. In the meantime, politicians from London to Edinburgh and Cardiff to Belfast see it like the worried ex-Prime Minister Gordon Brown. Neither Brexit nor Corona, and certainly not decentralization, are the real threat to the unity of the kingdom. It is the Prime Minister. And just one extra word here, because it came up in the comments even more recently from some obviously very egocentric people. I am not doing these videos exclusively for viewers from the UK. Of course, I'm happy about every UK viewer who has an open mind for the opinions from other countries about things that happen. But I'm doing this not in English because it's exclusively for the UK. First of all, I never said I'm speaking British English. Most of the time I have a lot of American English in my English, and that's the way it's supposed to be, because that's the English I speak, period. And on the other hand, I'm doing these videos in English because that's the language most people on this planet understand. And at the moment I'm doing these videos from people from 120 countries around the world. And I don't care where you come from. If you are interested in the topics, if you want to follow my channel, if you want to watch my videos, you are welcome wherever you come from. I'm doing this for people like you and not exclusively for whoever. But if you now want to know more about Brexit, YouTube has chosen another of my videos here in the end screen next to the subscribe button I hope you used. And if you are also interested in European and global news and politics, my two channels about this are up here. I'll see you in my next video. Click and enjoy. Viel Spaß.